Welcome to Signature Song, a podcast where two friends try to determine an artist's signature song. My name is Lane.
My name is Jorge.
And today we are talking about a very, I would say, maybe controversial isn't the right word, but polarizing.
Yeah.
Band. They have had significant commercial success. They're one of the best-selling acts in American rock music, but they are also widely maligned for their derivative sound. They tend to be a little bit over-performative in their songs. Their frontman especially has garnered a lot of criticism for his behavior, both behind the microphone and elsewhere
Off in the world.
when he's actually like in society.
Yeah.
So I am talking about Creed.
Creed. This is exciting. I've been looking forward to this one for a little while. Not because Creed is a particularly exciting band to me, but I just think it's fun to look at bands that maybe are on the wrong side of quote unquote acceptable to listen to by serious rock or music listeners in general, and try to find what they're all about and try to figure out why people hate them so much. So many people hate them so much. And I think they, of course, were very successful, like you said. So they definitely had a lot of fans. They still have a lot of fans, actually, out in the world. People, there exists a significant contingent of Creed fans, but they do get a lot of flack. And I wonder what that's all about. Has preparing for this episode clarified that to you?
Well, I will say first, before I go into my opinion of Creed, is that they're having a bit of a redemption arc right now. There have been a lot of Creed-related memes. A lot of their songs have been, popular on TikTok. And I think it's now suddenly become maybe ironically cool in like that hipster sort of way to be like, oh yeah, like Creed, yeah, they're awesome. And now they have a greatest hits album that's out on vinyl. So anybody who is a vinyl collector can pick that up if they want to. But I think in preparing for this episode, right, like I listened to the songs that we're going to talk about, and I also listened to a few others and watched some of their music videos. And I think they're just like, they're really corny. They're kind of formulaic. And like I said before, they're pretty derivative.
Yeah.
And so I think all of that, putting that into perspective, like that makes sense that they're a little bit critically and popularly maligned. But I will say that I actually had fun listening to some of these songs that we're going to talk about today. Like, it took me back, and there was definitely that element of nostalgia there. But, a couple of them are actually like pretty decent rock songs.
Yeah, look, I don't want to position myself above Creed or Creed's fan base. And like you said, there is a bit of a resurgence. There's a bit of revisionism, not revisionism, but maybe there's a bit of a, like you said, a redemption arc here. A lot of the music that was sneered at and looked down on back in late 90s, early 2000s is going through a reevaluation. And that includes Creed, and that includes bands like Nickelback. People are saying, why am I supposed to be embarrassed to like these songs? Why am I supposed to be embarrassed to find meaning in these tracks or to just enjoy them on a superficial level? Like there's a real level of craft here in some of this songwriting. And I kind of celebrate that, actually. I like that. I like that people are not kowtowing to some idea of what's, respectable or what you're supposed to like. I think it's good that we examine this supposed common knowledge that certain types of rock are just inherently inferior. I think it's good that we try to understand why we would even think that, and we actually look at the music and decide for ourselves if we actually feel that way. It just so happens that in the case of Creed, I feel that way. Creed kind of sucks. Creed kind of sucks. And I've been listening to these tracks and others and just like you, I've been having fun with it because it does take me back to a specific time of my life, and it does sort of it illuminates to me what about this band feels dishonest, maybe? What about this band feels overly polished? What about this band feels like a disingenuous, watered down version of something else that we already had as a culture? And why it feels so good to make fun of some of it, you know? Again, like if there's serious Creed fans listening, I'm very sorry. I'm glad you enjoy this band. I certainly find elements in a lot of these songs that I personally enjoy as well, that I think are worth pointing out and worth celebrating. But overall, as a total package, man, some of these are rough.
Yeah, I I would have to agree. There's something that feels artificial and kind of, there's something that doesn't click for
Yeah.
me for Creed, even though like some of the elements ostensibly are there. And, I mean, we could talk at length about post-grunge and kind of the influence that it had. And I have a few points about it that I like to make later. Um, but doesn't this make you want to like crack open a couple of beers and like hang out with your friends? Like that's
Yeah.
the kind of music that it is.
It's also being very contemplative about the passage of time and your upcoming fatherhood kind of music.
Which neither of us can relate to.
Not yet. Not yet. When Creed entered my world, when I first became aware of them, I was sort of already old enough and far enough into my exploration of music that I could sort of tell that they were bullshit. Were you ever a Creed fan?
I wouldn't say I was a fan, but I remember hearing the singles from My Own Prison on like alternative rock radio when I was like, roughly the age that I was like getting into like Pearl Jam and stuff, so
Yeah.
maybe about like 10 or 11. So a couple of years after My Own Prison was released. I liked the singles from that album okay, but like you would never catch me buying a Creed album even when I was 10 or 11. I think I was still feeling like I was too cool for that.
Yeah. And it's interesting. We just referenced Pearl Jam. This could be considered our first sequel episode. And as much as Creed is often looked at and discussed as Pearl Jam plagiarists, Pearl Jam wannabes, specifically Scott Stapp and his type of singing, there's a term that I've heard referenced around YouTube and other places that is called Mohame. Have you ever heard of Mohame singing?
No.
Mohame is a term that describes the type of singing that is often attributed to a certain type of baritone male lead singer. That sort of well, if you say the word Moham,
Yeah, like
that's
the way that the vowels are said.
Moham. That's what it is. It's what it sounds like. I don't think Creed sounds that much like Pearl Jam in general, just as a band, like their songs, except for a few early tracks that we might discuss soon. But man, does Scott Stapp sound like he's doing an Eddie Vedder impression? Like, this is nothing new. We're not breaking new ground by saying this. This is the main thing that people talked about Creed about it back in the day when they broke through. The main thing that people discussed about them was the Scott Stapp sounding like Eddie Vedder. And to me, Scott Stapp as a frontman seems to sit at the exact intersection of Eddie Vedder and Joshua Tree era Bono. Just in
that earnestness.
Yes, that earnestness, that grandiosity. Also, all the Jesus Christ posing, that kind of thing. It seems to me like those are the two big influences on Scott Stapp as a lead singer. And early 90s alternative, specifically grunge, exploded as a rejection of the excess and artificiality of the 80s, right? Like Nirvana, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, they all rejected this grandiosity. They rejected the polish. They wanted to openly wear their suffering. And so by the late 90s, the cultural conditions that made grunge feel urgent had already faded. Right? The grunge was no longer a thing after like the mid 90s. So what followed was diffusion, and that's what alternative rock happened, and post grunge specifically, that strain of alternative rock became the default format for mainstream rock radio. Creed inherited the internalized pain, the introspection, the raw, strained vocal delivery, the sense of howling and wrestling with things like doubt and things like guilt from grunge. But then they also drew in other music traditions like arena rock, like Christian rock music, and maybe even a little bit of hair metal. And they injected these sort of big feelings, and that's the special sauce. That's what makes Creed sound like Creed. Like, these songs are huge, right? They're emoting in a big way. There's no detachment here. One thing you can't say about Creed is that they're detached. And I think that's also part of the backlash. That's part of their downfall. In the 2000s, that was no longer cool by 2005 or so.
Well, I have a little bit more analysis about this when we talk about one in particular. So I will withhold, and I think we can move forward into our first contender.
My Own Prison. This is the track that introduced Creed to the world. This is their debut single. It was released in 1997. It comes from the debut album of the same name. The song was written by Scott Stapp and guitarist Mark Tremonti, who I think writes pretty much all the music for Creed songs. And it was produced by John Kurzweig, who would become sort of a key figure in shaping their sound. My Own Prison made it to number 2 on the mainstream rock chart and number 7 on the modern rock chart. And more importantly, this is the track that established Creed's whole deal. The heavy sound, the post-grunge riffs, the confessional, moral weight lyrics. It sort of sets the tone for their entire career. And it's part of what turned them into this massive rock band. Sort of going along with what we were saying, this is also the song that sounds most like Pearl Jam. This track, to me, feels like their attempt at recreating the Pearl Jam song. Well, not specifically this Pearl Jam song, but it's closest to the Pearl Jam song Breath. It's got that sort of sound, that mid-tempo, dirgy feel, the chorus where the backing vocals are sort of holding out one note while the lead singer sings on top of it. I think it's the template that they were trying to fit, or that they were trying to emulate. I don't know if this is just a me thing, but to me, this is what Creed sounds like. Creed sounds like they're trying to do 1991/1992 era Pearl Jam, because by the time that My Own Prison came out, Pearl Jam didn't really sound like this anymore. How do you like My Own Prison, the song?
I think that the lyrics are just so cringy.
Yeah.
I think that so many of the rhymes and turns of phrase are so obvious. And I find it really ungratifying to pay attention to the lyrics while I'm listening to the song, which is something that I normally like to do, because for me, words resonate a lot more plainly than maybe some melodic or other structural thing in a song's arrangement. The first thing I always go to is the lyrics.
Yeah.
And I've got them in front of me right now, and the one that always pisses me off the most is in the second verse. I feel the pain that was given on that sad day of loss. There's nothing to analyze about it. It's just blatantly what it's trying to say. There's no metaphor, there's no figuration, right? It's just very, very plainly.
Well, there is a metaphor for the whole courtroom thing, unless you think it's about a literal courtroom.
Well, I mean that line in particular.
Yeah. Oh, that specific line. Yeah, it is very plain spoken and sort of blunt.
Um, I do like the syncopation and the rhythm of the chorus. I think that is something redeeming about this song. It's definitely like very catchy.
Yeah,
We talked from the jump about, you know, this earnestness, and a lot of that I think really does relate to their strange positioning as they call themselves a secular band, and Scott Stapp said primarily because it was he couldn't live the lifestyle of a Christian rock artist, but it's there's always, at least in their biggest songs, there's always some sort of like Christian undertone or something, and he gives the vibe of, you know, a worship leader
yeah.
when he performs. And this song is, you know, everybody's introduction to them, and this is what they're doing from day one. Like, at least he's consistent.
Yes, that's true. I also think that that decision of theirs to reject the explicit label of Christian rock, whatever that means. I also think there's a commercial component to that. There's a
Mhm.
certain there's an element of we want to break into the mainstream, so we're gonna say we're not a Christian band, even though a lot of these lyrics are very very Christiany, and I think it's apparent throughout their discography. Unlike, for example, another, late 90s, early 2000s band, Evanescence, who also have a Christian background and sort of started as a Christian band and then moved into a different direction. But there was not this amount of Christianity imagery or references or even just like themes in their music, as opposed to Creed. So I think that's an interesting balance that they had to play there by, being authentically who they are, but also not making it so explicit that it can be that it's going to close them off from a higher level of popularity.
Well, and they toured with Christian bands too, though. Like they toured with a band called Skillet, who are a contemporary Christian hard rock band. That was, I think, more recently, though. I think it was on one of their reunion tours. But like, I think now they're not really, you know, masking this as like a key element of their aesthetic.
Yeah. They made it through. They made it into the mainstream. They don't have to hide anymore.
I just, I don't like this song.
No, it's not good. It's not good. This is one of the ones that are not good. I think I could very confidently say that this is not one of the ones that I would consider a strong song in general, just from a songwriting point of view. It's also just kind of very basic musically. I don't think there's much going on. I think that Tremonti is a tremendously talented guitarist and has come up with a lot of really cool guitar parts. I think they're absent from this song. This just seems like very bland to me. However, it is a good contender for signature song because, it's the lead single from their first album, is everybody's first exposure to Creed. Sometimes that initial impression is the one that sticks. And it's also appeared on movies like Bang Bang You're Dead. It's been on television shows. It's been in video games. It's one of 5 Creed songs that made it to was it Guitar Hero or something? One of those rhythm video games. So, My Own Prison has an important spot in their history. And that's, I think, why, even though it's not a great song, it can be called one of their potential signature songs.
I'm in agreement. Should we move on?
Yeah, we should.
Up next, also from My Own Prison, is the single One. This was released as the 4th single from My Own Prison, and it reached number 2 on the Billboard Mainstream Rock Tracks chart. It's also been considered, one of their more socially conscious songs, which is debatable, and I'll get to that momentarily. My Own Prison was really, really successful when it came out, and this song got a lot of airplay on the alternative rock radio stations, even in for years after they had released other albums. I remember hearing it as late as like 2005 on like alternative rock radio.
Mm-hmm.
This song is against affirmative action and
Yes, it is.
claims like reverse racism, which is bullshit, dear listener. Oh, I guess we can't cuss. Okay. Which is
Bullshit,
not
bullshit,
real.
bullshit counts. We could say bullshit. Bullshit.
It is not real. And if you take a look at the lyrics, even the just opening verse, I'm just going to read a short excerpt for y'all. It says, affirmative may be justified. Take from one, give to another. The goal is to be unified. Take my hand, be my brother. The payment silence the masses, sanctified by oppression. Unity took a back seat, sliding further into regression.
Yeah.
So this is unapologetically reactionary. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think that this reactionary vibe that you get from this song, and there are other Creed songs like it, and other post-grunge songs. I think that this is kind of a feature of post-grunge as opposed to genuine grunge, because you were talking a lot about kind of the co-optation of the musical aesthetic and some of the cultural hallmarks of grunge music that show up in post-grunge music. So you have the aesthetic and the sound and the looks, and in Scott Stapp's case, his voice, right? But to me, the two bands that define grunge music, which I would say are Nirvana and Pearl Jam, I think that's pretty inarguable. They leaned progressive, and it's not necessarily a rule, right? Because like I think Billy Corgan is pretty conservative, and Smashing Pumpkins are really influential. But like, I think that this theme of pilfering from other movements and rock and roll, watering it down and making it something conservative. Or another example would be like Kid Rock, right? And making something that was derivative of like Rage Against the Machine and other rap metal artists, right? This song to me is like just inexcusable. Like
Yeah.
it's so problematic. I have to admit that when I was a kid, I liked it, but I didn't know what it was about.
Like these lyrics are stupid.
They're so
Like,
dumb.
these lyrics are stupid. I can imagine a world where you express a similar sentiment with lyrics that are not stupid. But these are stupid lyrics. I am not gonna try to pretend that I believe that rock music inherently has to have a certain political bent. I think rock music is a music genre. And so on top of that music, you can put in any amount, any number of ideologies and ideas, and some may be more harmful than others. So my whole thing is this: these lyrics are dumb. Like they're so plain, so boring, so preachy in just a vacuous way. And I mean, yeah, they're expressing a worldview that is, at the very least, generously could be described as problematic. It's also just fucking dumb. It's also just dumb.
It's like morally heavy-handed, but they don't have the intellectual like heft to actually contribute to the discourse in any sort of meaningful way.
Yeah. I didn't know what this song was about. I've known this song for years. This was on a mix CD that a local radio station was giving away. And I've heard this song for years, and I caught some lines about unity and hold my hand, be my brother. So I thought maybe the message was overall good. I did realize it was so freaking dumb. This may be the most, I won't say the only, because I'm sure there have been others, especially in the current advent of bro country. But I think this may be the most explicitly anti-affirmative action song to ever chart on the Billboard Hot 100, which this did. My Own Prison did not. Did not chart on that one. So this is a big song. Other than that, I mean, it's a little different too from the rest of the album. It sounds a little more upbeat. It's got a little more energy than a lot of the album, which is kind of listless overall.
It sounds kind of jam bandy, actually. Like, like those light jam band things like Dave Matthews Band and OAR.
Yeah, and the drums have a little bit more movement to it. It's a song that would become. It's a song that sounds a little more like the Creed that we would get a little later. It's got a little more punch to the music and a little bit more energy. But it's not good. It's not good, and the lyrics aren't good, and the melody is not good. Oh, one thing I'd like to point out here, to your ears, what is the chorus of this song?
Oh, one, the only way is one.
Yes, I think that's where the chorus is too, because that's what my brain goes to. But what's funny is that is not the part where the song goes heavy. The post-chorus is where the song goes loud. Normally you hear, quiet verses, loud choruses. It's very rare. I've never seen a song where it's the post-chorus that goes heavy, that comes right after the main refrain. I don't know. I think that's an interesting arrangement choice because it's just kind of rare. But other than that, I just don't think there's a lot going on with this particular track.
No, it's stupid, white supremacist garbage.
All right. I think that about covers it. You put it very succinctly. I think we can now move away from the album My Own Prison, and talk about Creed's second album with our next signature song contender.
We're busting out of prison.
Can you take me higher? Higher, higher. This is the first Creed song I heard. Higher was released in 1999 as the lead single from Creed's second album, Human Clay. It was just like the previous track, written by Scott Stapp and Mark Tremonti, also produced by John Kurzweg, and it continues that more upbeat sound that we were just discussing, and it's also pushed them to create to commercial heights that they hadn't reached before. This song made it to number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100 and made it all the way to number 1 on both the mainstream rock and the modern rock charts, staying there for a long time. Scott Stapp has said that the song was inspired by Dream. There's an interesting interview where he talks about the things that went into writing the lyrics. We might talk about that in a little while, but to me, it's about something else. It feels like a song that is reaching in a very clearly spiritual manner. And I think that's kind of interesting. It was their first true crossover anthem, turning them from, a pretty successful rock band into an unavoidable act. You couldn't escape them at this point. Lane, before we get into our opinions on this song, I want to ask you, have you seen the music video?
Yes, but it's been a really long time. I definitely saw it a lot on VH1. I think is this the one where they're playing a concert and they do all the freeze frames and stuff?
Yes,
Yeah.
that is exactly. That's exactly what it is. But that's not what I focus on when I watch this music video. If you rewatch it, I encourage everybody listening to watch it because it's really funny. Scott Stapp is wearing the shiniest latex pants.
Yes, that's right.
So shiny. They're blindingly shiny. And it's incredible. And he's really rocking them. And he's got the tank top on with the bare open chest, really hairy underneath, looking like some sort of mythical figure posing up a storm on the stage. What do you think of Higher?
I think that Scott Stapp is totally lying about it being about a dream, unless he had a dream about heaven. It's clearly the song is about heaven, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The place with golden streets and where blind men see, right? That's literally one of the most or two of the most cliched characterizations of heaven.
Yes. You know what the lyrics to Higher also remind me of a little bit?
Tell me.
Where the streets have no name.
Oh no.
Yeah, isn't that also about heaven? Isn't that song also sort of about heaven? It seems like Scott Stapp's attempt at writing Where the Streets Have No Name.
I
Kinda.
mean, the Joshua Tree to me is a Christian album.
It is
Maybe that's
sort
a
of, right?
spicy take, but
No, but I hear it. I hear it.
yeah.
And isn't Bono like a big religious guy?
Yeah, he's really into Jesus.
Oh, there you go. I'm not crazy.
Upon reassessment of this song, because I used to find this song incredibly stupid.
Yeah.
I still think it's kind of like it's definitely butt rock, right? Like
Yeah.
we're introducing something new to the lexicon, butt rock, but I think that this is probably the best song of the ones that we are discussing today.
Mhm.
I think that it's the most enjoyable to listen to. I think Mark Tremonti's guitar is pretty good in it. I really like the pre-chorus, actually.
Yeah, the palm muted. Let's
Yeah.
go there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that Higher is an okay song. Let
Okay.
me yeah.
So your favorite Creed song in this list is just okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, but I'm not going to be like it's great or anything, but
No,
like,
but there's
you know,
some good stuff going on.
It's a fine song.
Yeah, I think there's some moments here that are worth pointing out. I really like the little guitar flourish in the chorus, that little hook that follows the vocal hook. I think it's really cool. It's kind of cinematic. I like that aspect of Tremonti's songwriting. It's got this huge amount of drama to it, and it really does sound like a film score at points. I like
he really knows how to compliment Scott Stapp too, like with the high drama, you know, like they really play to each other's strengths.
Yeah. And you know, some people have said that the problem with Creed is Scott Stapp. That Creed would be a pretty good band without Scott Stapp. I don't know about that because I've heard Alter Bridge.
You know, I meant to listen to them when you brought them up the other day, but I never pursued them. Please tell us.
Alter Bridge. Well, look, it's just a lot more boring. Alter Bridge is maybe it's lacking in Scott Stapp's more annoying tendencies, and so therefore it is completely absent of any entertainment value. It's just like there's nothing funny or interesting or different about them. Everything that makes Scott Stapp compelling in any way is of course completely absent from Alter Bridge, where they replaced him with a guy who's just a pretty good singer, but that's it. You know, it lacks personality in my opinion. I am not a fan of Alter Bridge, and if you listen to it, you'll see that there's something missing. There's a certain element missing. It's because your ear is looking for that Scott Stapp thing. This song is a great example of that Scott Stapp thing. Higher, it feels like the perfect distillation of Creed. And so one might say that that's a good argument for it being their signature song, right? Of the people who think of signature songs as the song that best captures an artist's sound or vibe, they might say that Higher is their signature song.
Yeah, I think there's a really good case for Higher being the signature song. But I mean, we do have 3 others to discuss. So who knows?
Who knows? Well, let's find out with our next contender.
Up next, another single from 1999's Human Clay. It is With Arms Wide Open, and it is about Scott Stapp finding out that he's going to be a dad for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is like a pretty sweet concept, you know.
I'll say it off the bat. I'm sorry. I know you have stuff to add to say when you're introducing the song, but I love the sentiment.
Really?
I think it's a sweet thing to sing about.
It is a sweet thing to sing about. This song was a massive commercial success. It was #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, #1 on Billboard Top 40, the adult contemporary, and mainstream rock charts. So just a powerhouse of a song in terms of its influence and success.
Yeah.
The song also won a Grammy, which is like mind-boggling to
Huge.
me. Yeah, but like it won Best Rock Song
Yeah.
in 2001, and it was nominated for another Grammy, Best Rock Performance by a Duo or Group with vocals.
Best rock song in 2001. That's the year that The Offspring released Original Prankster. How could it be?
Crazy, right? Just what should have won Best Rock Song in 2001. Was that the year Chop Suey came out by System of a Down?
I think more or less, yeah. It might have been around that time, you know? I think Limp Bizkit was also putting out a lot of quality work at the time.
Linkin Park.
Yeah.
There was a lot happening
There's a lot
in
happening.
2001.
Yes.
So this song was certified platinum, and it helped make Human Clay the massive success that it was. It reached diamond status. It sold over 11 million copies in the US alone. So
yeah,
this song is probably Creed's, inarguably Creed's most successful track.
For sure.
From a commercial and a critical standpoint. I get what you're saying about it being, a sweet topic for a song. It's definitely very, very earnest. I think that it's kind of, my opinion is that the song is kind of saccharine.
Oh no, for sure. That's absolutely correct. I agree with you completely. It is saccharine, and I didn't mean to imply that I love the song or anything. I think it's just a sweet thing to sing about, especially near the end of the lyrics. I think it's near the end where he's like, I hope this kid is not like me, like I hope he avoids all the pitfalls that I fell into, all the crappy ways I've behaved.
That's pretty complex.
Yeah,
actually, and self-aware.
I just find that so compelling when people sing about that kind of, it's very vulnerable, right? You're really putting yourself out there.
He was really young when he wrote this too. He was only like 25.
Wow.
Yeah, that's like really young to be a parent.
It is. And this was also, right around the same time he was shooting sex tapes with Kid Rock backstage.
Oh boy,
getting into fights with 311.
Hey, remember that?
feuding with various members of 311 and Limp Bizkit. Scott Stapp was really living an impressive lifestyle at this point in his life, but maybe that's what he's singing about when he says, I hope this kid is not like me. I hope this kid doesn't pick fights with 311.
Yeah, because if he does while he's a baby, he's going to get his ass kicked.
I don't know. You've seen the guys from 311. They're kind of scrawny.
Yeah, that's true.
Who knows? A baby might kick their ass. But in any case, I agree that that it's kind of it's not a great song musically or lyrically or melodically. I think it is just kind of this plodding thing. I will say that there are some guitar figures that occur throughout that I really catch my ear in an interesting way, like certain arpeggios that Tremonti plays, and I like the strings. There's these soaring strings that come in and give this song, again, we've used the word cinematic before, but it really works in this context because of that orchestral sound. There's one thing that Scott Stapp does here, though, that drives me crazy, and I don't think we've come into examples of this particular thing in other episodes of our podcast, so I'll just quickly say, I hate one of my pet peeves, one of my lyrical pet peeves. I listen to music with lyrics partly to marvel at the elegance of being able to convey a coherent idea or thought in a way that is poetic and mellifluous and just kind of effortlessly fits into a melody or meter. I love that. So it really grinds my gears when that's tainted by changing the emphasis of how a word is pronounced so that it fits the melody or meter. So when Scott Stapp at some point says, well, I don't know if I'm ready. Nobody says ready, it's ready. Don't say ready. I'm not ready. Ready. It sounds so bad. I hate when musicians do that. It happens a lot in Spanish. It doesn't happen that much in English, but in Spanish it happens all the time, and it just kind of drives me up the wall. Sorry, a little bit of a detour there to talk about my pet peeve. What do you think of the lyrics?
They're they are simultaneously self-effacing and self-righteous.
Yeah.
I think that they're really cheesy
Yeah.
with I can't be more eloquent than that in the moment.
They are.
But I I think that they are, other than what we talked about, I hope he's not like me. I hope he understands. Well, understands what actually? Now that begs the question,
Yeah.
right?
I hope he
I
understands not to pick fights with 311.
It's such a sappy, hokey. It's also really repetitive.
It is.
There really seems to have been almost no effort put into the actual writing of the song.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the rhymes and turns of phrase in the lyrics are very obvious. Like, everything is changed, and then rhyming demand with understands and hand.
Yeah.
It feels like he pulled out a rhyming dictionary.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I think the biggest offender for the cringy lyrics in this song are it's in the second verse of "We stand in awe, we've created life." Shut up.
Okay. Shut up, person expressing their innermost emotions. Shut up. This is a song that people really grabbed onto. This song really spoke to people. This is a hugely popular song. This, like you said earlier, is their biggest hit. Even Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, who I'm not a big Foo Fighters fan or anything, but he has a certain amount of cred. He said that With Arms Wide Open is one of the most amazing songs of all time. And I think that's really interesting.
Jesus Christ.
Exactly. Down here in South America, With Arms Wide Open is easily Creed's biggest hit. It was everywhere in a way that Higher was not, in a way that some of the other songs we're going to talk about next were not. So I don't know. I just think that's part of why it could be considered their signature song.
Well, I think that does it.
My Sacrifice was released in 2001 as the lead single from Creed's third album, Weathered. It was, again, written by Mark Tremonti and Scott Stapp, and it was produced by Johnny Kurzweg along with Kirk Kelsey. Now, this was one of Creed's biggest pop hits on the charts. It peaked to number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 and went to number 1 on the mainstream rock chart, where it stayed for 9 weeks. The song was also nominated for a Grammy for Best Rock Performance by a duo or group with vocal. Big song. It seems to be about reconnecting with people. And, you and I, we go back and forth. We take turns introducing the episodes of our podcast. And if I had been the person to introduce this episode, I would have started with, "Hello, my friend. We meet again. It's been a while. Where do we begin? It feels like forever." Those are, of course, the opening lyrics to My Sacrifice. So I give you the hint that that there's one of these songs that we were going to discuss today that I actually really like. It's this one, My Sacrifice.
Whoa.
I love the guitar part. I love the sliding sort of octave sound that it's got, the big open chords. It just, again, it just feels like it's got this huge power to it. The way that it moves in the verses and the choruses. I really love this guitar part. It sounds to me like Siamese Dream era Billy Corgan could have written it. It's got just a lot of resonance to it. And so that's why I like the song, even though the lyrics are just kind of lame. They're not offensive. They're not outright bad, but they just feel very banal.
I disagree. I think they're bad.
Okay, well, tell me about that. Why do you think they're bad?
I think because they're so inoffensive.
Oh yeah, they're bland,
so
for sure.
Tame and I think some of the constructions of the sentences, syntactically, are a little bit weird.
Yes.
Above all the others will fly.
Yeah.
just to rhyme with "This brings tears to my eyes," which is such a profoundly
Awkward.
dumb, weak thing to say in a song. Not weak as in like he's weak for crying, but like, like it weakly phrased. And especially the second verse, I feel like Scott Stapp writes almost purposefully vague lyrics
Yes.
that could be applied to any situation. And I think that, and this is from going to poetry school, specificity in lyrics is what makes them interesting. And there's nothing specific in this song, and in most of the songs that we've talked about. I think one actually is probably the exception. And there's a couple of like images that stick in my mind from my own prison, but like I did not even register that this song was about friends reuniting, because I was thinking it was about like reconnecting with Christ.
Okay. Well, maybe Christ is his friend. Christ is his homeboy.
Okay. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox.
No, but I think you're onto something there. It is very unspecific, and like you said, specificity is where a lot of the power in poetry resides, right? But this is not a poem. It's a song lyric, and there's a long tradition of songwriters that are about universality. You can look at Cole Porter for that. It's about talking about things that everybody can connect with. It's not like the confessional singer-songwriter thing. It's a thing that preceded it by a long time. So I don't know, maybe this is calling back to that, or maybe it's just kind of a bland piece of nothing lyrics. I don't want to defend them too much. I just don't think they're offensive in that they're not defending something horrific or condemning affirmative action or anything like that. It's different. It's
So they're not racist, and that's your barometer for not
for what
being
counts as
offensive.
bad. Yeah. But you actually pointed out the whole sentence construction to fit the lyrical meter. I think that's also one of the things that I was talking about earlier about not liking. I don't like when I can hear the effort. When I can hear the person straining to fit a certain line or to fill a certain amount of syllables so that the melody feels complete. I don't like that. And yeah, you pointed out it's in here too.
What do you think the sacrifice is?
I've wondered that in the past. Let's try to figure this out. So he connects with his friend, whoever it is. Hello, we meet again. It's been a while. Where should we begin? Within my heart are memories of perfect love that you gave to me. And then he goes on to say, the chorus, when you're with me, I'm free, I'm careless, I believe. Above all the others will fly. This brings tears to my eyes, my sacrifice. Huh? I don't think he tells us what the sacrifice is, and I don't know what it's pointing to, and I don't know what it's alluding to. It may not be anything.
Conceivably, you could make a sacrifice to make amends with somebody, but I don't think that's what this is saying. And if it's about him reconnecting with Jesus,
Maybe
I guess an individual might make like some sort of sacrifice to be a believer, but like
wait.
What?
Maybe he's singing from the point of view of Jesus. Maybe he is talking to the sinner and saying, "You've finally come back to me, my child."
I think that actually makes a lot of sense.
And my sacrifice is, the sacrifice that Jesus is getting on the cross thing. Maybe that's it. Oh my God, I'm feeling like maybe this is obvious.
We cracked it.
This may be obvious. Well, actually, I don't know if it makes sense though, because within my heart are memories of perfect love that you gave to me. Would Jesus?
Yeah,
say
that sounds like that's. I mean, there could be two narrators, and Scott Stapp is just vocalizing both narrations because he's the singer.
Man, he's a great lyricist if we're talking about it like this. Like, what the hell?
All these contortions.
What the hell is he trying to say? I just also want to say that I really like the bridge and that part where the music gets all like urgent. There's a really cool slide into a different key there that makes it sound very heavy. You know the chord that I'm talking about, right? After the
Yeah,
last
when he
thing.
says, "I just want to say hello again."
Yeah, and it goes na 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 na, and suddenly the song gets like heavy.
Yeah.
I think that part is cool, and the way that it resolves into the quieter section after that. So I just maybe if this song had different lyrics, I think I would feel better about saying I really like this song, because yeah, the lyrics are just not good, but the construction of it musically, I think there's really cool stuff going on there. That's just my take. And we haven't really talked about why it may be a signature song. This was another big song for Creed. It's also part of their video game. A version of it was used, covered to promote the Academy Awards. This is part of Creed's identity, this song and the hilarious music video. So yeah, you could point to it as a potential signature song. Maybe not in the way that you could point to With Arms Wide Open.
No, this song was really big. I mean, I remember it was kind of like their comeback, like after Human Clay, and the fervor kind of died down a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
they released this, and I remember it being like a big deal. It was constantly on VH1. It was on the radio a lot. So, and I think a lot a people would recognize this as a Creed song. Like, it has all the hallmarks of one. It checks all the boxes.
Yeah.
But I would agree that, like, it may not be like the first one that comes to mind.
Cool. Why don't we move right on to our final contender for Creed's signature song?
Our final contender for Creed's signature song is also from 2001's Weathered, and it is One Last Breath. I've been neglecting to say that these songs have been written by Scott Stapp and Mark Tremonti and produced by John Kurzweig, but they all have
They
been.
all have been, yeah.
Yeah. And just as a brief aside, the cover of Weathered is truly the dumbest album cover I've ever seen in my entire life.
No notes. Wonderful graphic design is my passion. Great job.
One Last Breath was released as the second single from Weathered, following My Sacrifice, and it did really well in the charts. It made it to number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 1 on both the modern and mainstream rock charts in Billboard, and it was also top 10 in Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. This song was also nominated for a Grammy in the Best Rock Performance by a Duo or Group category, and the single went gold. And Weathered, although not as successful as Human Clay, it sold actually about half as many copies as a whole. But this song contributed to its success, and I'd say it's a pretty well-known song.
Dude,
like I think it was pretty big.
I've been surprised at the amount of people, because I always ask people before we record, like, what do you think Creed's signature? I've been amazed at the amount of people who have pointed to One Last Breath. Usually,
that's crazy.
Yeah, usually they say like, the I'm 6 feet from the edge song. Like, people know this song and they associate it very closely with Creed. And I did not know that. I knew this was a popular song because I heard it when it came out and I knew that it was around. But a lot of the people that I've been polling, sort of in my own non-scientific way, have pointed to this one, even more than With Arms Wide Open.
I mean, isn't this song a meme, though? Like, isn't it on TikTok?
Look, every time you ask if this is on TikTok or if it got famous on TikTok,
I know you don't know.
I don't. The answer is going to be, I don't know, and it probably didn't come up in my research.
That was idle speculation.
Yeah, no, I don't know about
pause that. For a second, I can see if it's on TikTok.
Yeah.
There was a remix, a bass remix by Atlians that has over 2.2 million views, and I think it's a stitch with that song.
Interesting.
And then another person did a cover of it, and it had 6.5 million views, and
Yeah.
there's others as well. So yeah, I guess the song is kind of like trending
Yeah, maybe.
at the moment, but or in the last couple of years anyway.
Right.
But I'm really surprised that they would like name this one over With Arms Wide Open or Higher or
Mm-hmm.
something. But
Yeah, I feel the same.
what do you think of this song?
I like the guitar part at the start. That little guitar line that Tremonti plays, I think is very pretty. I think the melody for this one is probably one of the more fully formed of the melodies that we've discussed in this episode. I think just like with My Sacrifice, there are concrete musical elements that I enjoy and can point to as being effective. But I think the lyrics are weak, and the track overall is not very compelling. Doesn't do it for me. I'm also very confused by the lyrical conceit of, you know, the concept. I'm 6 feet from the edge, and I'm thinking that maybe 6 feet, it's not so far down. What exactly does that mean? He's
He's
standing,
contemplating suicide.
but is he if he jumps 6 feet, he's not gonna
No,
die.
like 6 feet underground, like a grave.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like,
So he's standing 6 feet from like a mountaintop, let's
like a
say,
precipice.
and he's
Yeah.
thinking, well, if dying is probably okay because 6 feet is not that far down.
No, I mean he's using both instances of 6 feet to like he's conveying one thing, which is like distance, which is not a very far distance from like jumping off this cliff.
Correct.
Like it's not a real cliff, I don't think. I think it's metaphorical.
Okay.
And then he's taking the other 6 feet and he's thinking about like, see, we shouldn't have to do this if it was a well-written song. We wouldn't have to do that.
It's muddled, is what I'm saying. Like, what's confusing to me is the maybe 6 feet ain't so far down. Like, what does that mean? Like, I guess maybe if I die, maybe I should die. I don't know. But
Yeah.
all right.
That-
Okay. Fair. I guess. Sorry, Scott Stapp, for doubting your lyrical prowess. I just don't. It took me a little bit there. I knew that it was a song about hopelessness, and I knew that it was a song about, looking for comfort in a time of crisis, right? Like that's all over the lyrics. But the whole 6 feet times 6 feet part of it just feels a little muddled for me.
Please tell me what's happening in the verse where he says, "Sad eyes follow me, but I still believe there's something left for me. So please come stay with me, because I still believe there's something left for you and me." What the hell is that?
I don't know.
Is that like his partner?
Or maybe it's Jesus. Maybe all these songs are about Jesus. Is that too? Am I not giving him enough credit to think that he can write a song about something that's not Jesus and affirmative action?
There is a Jesus reference in the second verse about, "I thought I found the road to somewhere in his grace," because is in contrast to the road to nowhere in the first verse. But and his is capitalized. So
yeah.
that's fairly explicit, but maybe he changes, because like this happens in the 1975 songs a lot, where like Maddie Healy will use like second person pronouns and then switch to third person pronouns. And presumably he's talking about the same person. And I wonder if that's what's happening here with the "you and me" versus "his grace."
Could be. I like the melody in the chorus. Like I said, I like the melody throughout the whole song. I think it's a nicely composed song from a harmonic and melodic standpoint. I just overall don't really buy it. Did you know that Scott Stapp was in incredible pain when he shot the music video for One Less Breath?
No, how come?
He was in a car accident. He on the day of the shoot, it says here, while driving his Cadillac SUV in Florida, he was struck from behind by a Ford SUV. And the vehicle was going at probably 50 or 60 miles per hour, and he was sent flying forward. and his body hit the steering wheel and his head hit the windshield. And he just kind of shook it off. He got looked at by doctors. It was apparently determined that he was fine. And he went to the music video shoot. And during the shoot, he was just in extreme agonizing pain. And that's why he's just kind of standing there. He's not striking the same amount of Jesus poses we would imagine, we would expect from a performer like Scott Stapp.
Well, that's terrible. I didn't know that.
Yeah. After the shoot, he had an MRI, and thus doctors discovered that he had a bulging disc between two vertebrae and a smashed in his neck and a smashed disc in his lower back.
Gosh. Yeah, that would be painful.
So he was a trooper. He got the music video done. Well done, Scott. And we thank you.
That's toxic masculinity right there. Like gritting through the pain.
Maybe. But I think that about does it for Creed's contenders for signature song. Now comes the part of the episode where we talk about some of other songs that we considered but didn't make the cut. Our honorable mentions. Do you have any?
Yeah, there are a couple. So one is from my own prison, and it's called "What's This Life For?" This was also a pretty big single and made it to the top of the US mainstream rock charts. So that one stands out in my mind. I also think the song "Bullets," which has the silliest music video of all time.
Yeah. It's like CGI Scott Stapp fighting like a giant spider or something. What is it?
Yeah. It's basically it was I think it was made by the studio that did Twisted Metal. And it looks like a video game, like a PlayStation 2 video game, like you said, Very funny. That's and that's like a pretty heavy song. It sounds like almost like a Tool song. Yeah, that is one of their harder edge songs, but you know what it's about, don't you?
No. What is it?
It's about it's a response to critical feedback from
Oh, damn it. Oh no.
I know, and it literally, like, one of the lyrics is something to the effect of like, "At least look at me when you put a bullet in me," or something like
okay,
that.
that sounds like a Taylor Swift line. I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't.
That sounds like a Taylor Swift line, and
you brought
know
it up this time. By the way, you brought her up.
You when I put it out, you like the hair stood up in the back of your neck. I'm sure. That was Bullets was also going to be one of my honorable mentions, and I have just one more, which is the song "What If," and the song "What If" was also pretty big. It didn't make it to like this level of popularity, but it was a big single. I remember it, and it was part of the Scream 2 or 3 soundtrack. I can't remember if it was Scream 2 or Scream 3. It's timely because there is currently a new Scream film in cinemas, so I don't know. Late 90s, early 2000s are coming back in a big, bad way. Having said all this, now we move on to the part where we reveal our final pick for signature song for Creed. Last time I went first, so I'm going to let you take it.
All right. This was really hard for me. It actually, I spent a lot of time deliberating between a few choices. The calculus of a song's commercial success, critical success, the overall popularity or renown of a track. But there's another element in it for me too. And that is how consistent a song is with the artist's discography as a whole. Like, does it, cohere? If you hear that song, does it sound like other stuff that they've put out? And maybe that's not in the decision making matrix for you, but for me it is. And so the two that I was torn between were With Arms Wide Open and Higher. And I think I have to give it to Higher because it sounds a little bit more like a regular Creed song. I think With Arms Wide Open obviously has, the success that both on the charts and also winning a Grammy and everything behind it. But I don't think that the majority of what you would think constitutes a Creed song are components of With Arms Wide Open. My pick is higher.
Okay. Well, I will be straight up. With Arms Wide Open is Creed's biggest hit. It's their only number one song. It won them a Grammy. And to me, the tone of the song and its earnestness and its emotional openness, they're all completely essential to who Creed is as a band. It's a very Creed song. Just like you, when I think about signature song, that's not all that comes into play. All the elements that you talked about and the idea that's in everything that Creed does of that search for transcendence, of reaching beyond yourself spiritually and emotionally, of balancing heaviness with uplift, tension and release, doubt and belief. And all these things are in the musical DNA, in the worldview, and in the artistic ambitions of Creed. And the song that fully captures that is not their biggest hit. It is Higher. So we agree.
Nice.
Higher is Creed's signature song, even though if you go to the Wikipedia list of signature songs, it's, according to them, it's With Arms Wide Open. Wikipedia, you do
They're
a lot of
wrong.
great work. You do great work, but I disagree. We disagree. Signature song. We're the official source on this. We're the authority, and it is Higher for sure. We did it. Another episode in the can.
Amazing. That was so fun. I had so much fun talking about Creed, which is like something I never thought I'd say.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time for sure. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed it and you like our show and what we do, please rate us 5 stars on any app that you listen on, and specifically Spotify. If you want to leave us a comment, please do as well. We are on @Signature Song Pod on Instagram. Find us there, follow us. And what are we going to talk about next week? I don't think this is the first time we come to one of these end of the episodes without knowing what we will be discussing in the next episode.
That's terrible. I don't know either.
I threw out a suggestion that you kind of ignored. I said maybe we can do Ariana Grande.
That's fine.
You want to do Ariana Grande?
Great. Yeah, she'll be very interesting to talk about.
She's just like Creed in many ways.
You heard it here, folks.
All right. So next episode in 2 weeks, Ariana Grande's signature song. I don't even know which one it'll be. I'm gonna have to do a lot of research here.
It's gonna be the one from Wicked.
Nah, I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.